Have you ever flipped a burger and wondered if a SWAT team was about to crash through your fence? Probably not, but maybe you should. Across the country, petty neighbors and bored bureaucrats have waged an utterly ridiculous legal war on how you cook your meat. Today, we expose the most bizarre, strictly enforced rules about outdoor grilling and relaxing in the backyard. I promise you will never look at your spatula the exact same way again. 1. Living in hurricane-prone states like Florida or Louisiana means your heavy metal barbecue grill legally transforms from a cooking appliance into a deadly, highly regulated projectile. When a state of emergency is officially declared and a hurricane warning is issued, local municipal codes strictly mandate that all outdoor patio furniture and heavy cooking equipment must be firmly anchored to the concrete or moved indoors. If you lazily leave your expensive gas grill sitting unanchored on your patio and a massive gust of wind launches it through your neighbor's living room window, you are not just dealing with an insurance claim. You can be criminally charged with negligence for failing to secure a hazardous flying object during a declared weather emergency. 2. In Fairfax County, Virginia, the local fire marshal absolutely refuses to let you eyeball the size of your backyard bonfire. The municipal code strictly mandates that recreational fires cannot legally exceed 3 feet in diameter and 2 feet in height. If your burning logs shift slightly during the night and a single flame suddenly peaks at 25 inches tall, you are technically operating an illegal, unpermitted residential blaze. Can you imagine a stern city official actually pulling out a metal tape measure in the dark to determine if your family campfire is a municipal crime? You are essentially required to act as a strict geometrical engineer just to legally roast a marshmallow. 3. Maricopa County, Arizona, has incredibly strict environmental laws that declare mandatory no-burn days during periods of high air pollution, making it a heavily finable offense to light a wood fire pit. However, the exact wording of the law contains a wildly specific culinary loophole that residents absolutely love to exploit. Burning wood purely for warmth or ambiance is strictly illegal, but the local ordinance explicitly exempts fires that are actively being used for cooking food. This legally means that keeping a single sad hot dog permanently skewered on a stick suspended over your roaring backyard fire pit magically transforms you from an environmental criminal into a law-abiding outdoor chef. The presence of that one piece of processed meat serves as a completely valid, legally binding shield against a visit from angry code enforcement officers. 4. You might think that what you burn in your own private fire pit is exclusively your business, but the city code in Wichita, Kansas, strongly disagrees with that assumption. The law explicitly bans the use of any recreational fire pit for any type of waste disposal whatsoever. This legally means if you finish eating a pizza on your patio and casually toss the greasy cardboard box into the glowing flames, you have just crossed the legal line from enjoying a wholesome campfire to operating an illegal, unpermitted municipal trash incinerator. Even tossing a used paper napkin into the embers technically violates the fire code. The local government essentially demands that your fire remains purely decorative, turning an innocent habit of burning a paper plate into a prosecutable offense that could technically land you a hefty fine from the city. 5. Apartment balconies in Chicago are governed by a hyper-specific fire code that absolutely despises combustible surfaces. It is completely illegal to operate any type of portable fire pit or traditional charcoal grill on a wooden deck or balcony. The municipal law clearly states these smoking devices can only be legally utilized on non-combustible surfaces like heavy concrete or stone. To legally grill your summer burgers without risking an eviction notice or a massive fine, you literally have to physically carry your hot, heavy, ash-filled barbecue down the wooden apartment stairs and place it directly onto the public concrete sidewalk. You are forced to awkwardly flip your steaks in front of passing pedestrians and stray dogs, entirely because the city refuses to let a single briquette sit above a wooden plank. 6. Running out of dry wood in the middle of a massive backyard bonfire and casually strolling into the adjacent municipal park to gather fallen branches makes you a literal thief in the eyes of the law. City codes strictly protect every single piece of natural debris located within a public park, classifying fallen timber as essential to the local ecological decomposition process. Scooping up an armful of dead sticks to fuel your weekend party is legally prosecuted as the theft of municipal property and the deliberate destruction of a protected natural habitat. You can genuinely be slapped with a massive criminal fine just for picking up a broken branch that the city was eventually going to throw into a wood chipper anyway. 7. If you move into an expensive, master-planned community in Florida, you must carefully read the homeowner association bylaws regarding patio aesthetics before buying a grill. Many of these legally binding covenants explicitly state that all cooking equipment must be completely hidden from street view. But the architectural regulations get so much weirder. If your patio is even slightly visible through a wrought iron fence, the rules frequently dictate that your protective grill cover must match the exact exterior paint color of your house. You are legally required by the board to custom order a specific shade of beige or pastel yellow canvas, just so your barbecue does not visually offend the neighborhood architectural review committee. Failure to color coordinate your grill tarp results in compounding daily fines until the aesthetic violation is properly neutralized. 8. Transporting fuel for your backyard fire pit can accidentally turn you into an environmental criminal on the state highway. The Department of Environmental Conservation in New York has a strict, legally enforced regulation that makes it highly illegal to transport untreated firewood more than 50 miles from its source. This law was specifically drafted to stop the spread of invasive, tree-killing insects. If you chop down a dead oak tree at your rural cabin and load the logs into your pickup truck to use in your suburban backyard fire pit, you are actively breaking state law. Highway checkpoints exist specifically to catch these rogue wood smugglers. You could genuinely be hit with massive financial penalties simply because the logs destined for your weekend bonfire lacked the proper government-issued agricultural treatment certificate. 9. Sometimes city planners write fire safety codes that are so mathematically restrictive, they serve as a stealth ban on backyard fun entirely. In multiple New Jersey municipalities, the Fire Marshal Code strictly dictates that you cannot legally operate an open-flame fire pit within 15 feet of any combustible structure. That legal definition includes your house, your detached garage, your wooden privacy fence, and even your property line. When you actually apply that mandatory 15-foot radius to the physical layout of a standard, slightly cramped suburban backyard, you quickly realize there is literally no spot on the grass that legally qualifies. It effectively makes owning a simple fire pit a mathematical impossibility for the average homeowner, turning a cheap weekend pleasure into an illegal activity unless you happen to own a massive, sprawling estate. 10. While the backyard is universally recognized as the sacred legal domain of the barbecue, attempting to move your culinary operation to the front lawn is legally treacherous territory. In various upscale suburban municipalities, zoning codes and neighborhood charters explicitly outlaw the operation of any grilling equipment in the front yard or the driveway. The underlying legal philosophy is strictly based on maintaining neighborhood aesthetics, treating the sight of a homeowner flipping hot dogs next to his garage as a severe visual blight that damages local property values. If you own the land all the way down to the public sidewalk, why does the simple act of searing a steak suddenly become a highly offensive and illegal code violation just because the passing mailman can clearly see you doing it? 11. Drinking an ice-cold beer while sitting next to your backyard fire pit seems like the most natural American tradition in existence. But in several Midwest municipalities, it is a direct violation of the fire code. Local laws strictly mandate that any open recreational fire must be constantly supervised by a competent and completely sober adult. The exact second you crack open a single can of beer or pour a glass of wine, you legally lose your status as a competent fire warden. Code enforcement can literally shut down your family bonfire and issue a hefty citation simply because the person holding the marshmallow stick has alcohol in their bloodstream. The government essentially treats your tiny backyard fire ring like you are operating heavy industrial machinery. 12. Let us talk about the absolute micromanagement of hamburger grease. In exceptionally strict homeowner association communities across Nevada, the legally binding rules governing outdoor cooking go far beyond the smoke or the open flame itself. Residents can actually be hit with severe financial penalties if their grill drips even a small amount of rendered grease onto their own private patio concrete. The community bylaws explicitly state that all exterior floor surfaces must remain utterly pristine and completely stain-free at all times. Because of this legally binding nonsense, desperate homeowners have been caught outside with heavy-duty scrub brushes and industrial chemical degreasers in the middle of the night, frantically washing their own backyards just to avoid a humiliating board hearing over a single, rogue drop of fat from a Sunday cookout. 13. We are all very familiar with local noise curfews, but did you know that your backyard fire pit itself might actually have a strictly enforced legal bedtime? In various suburban districts heavily focused on neighborhood nuisance laws, the municipal code explicitly dictates that all open recreational fires must be completely extinguished by 10 o'clock at night. It absolutely does not matter if you are whispering quietly and behaving perfectly. The physical presence of the glowing embers becomes entirely illegal the moment the clock strikes the magic hour. Local code enforcement or police officers can legally force you to drown your perfectly safe campfire with a garden hose simply because it is late. The city effectively acts as an overbearing parent, aggressively sending your fire to bed before midnight, regardless of how safely you are operating it. 14. Texas is undeniably the undisputed barbecue capital of the entire world, but it is actually highly illegal to become a backyard brisket entrepreneur in your own neighborhood. While Texas has progressive cottage food laws that allow regular citizens to legally sell homemade baked goods like cookies or cakes straight from their residential kitchens, cooked meat is explicitly excluded from this protection. If you slow smoke a massive, beautiful brisket in your backyard and sell a single sliced sandwich to your neighbor over the fence, you are committing a serious crime. The local health department legally classifies you as an unpermitted rogue bootlegger of hazardous meats. You can legally sell your neighbors diabetes-inducing, frosting-covered cupcakes all day long, but selling a perfectly smoked rack of ribs turns you into an absolute criminal outlaw. 15. Public city parks seem like the absolute ultimate democratic space for a massive weekend cookout, but local municipal ordinances fiercely protect the public grass. In many city parks that already provide those tiny, rusty, permanent charcoal posts, it is strictly illegal to bring your own personal portable grill from home. The Parks Department's legal logic is that unauthorized personal grills are often placed directly onto the lawn, and the radiating heat permanently scorches the expensive, taxpayer-funded turf. Park rangers are given the legal authority to issue expensive citations and immediately shut down your family picnic if you dare to fire up a rogue Weber kettle. You are legally forced to cook your food on a public grate that hasn't been properly cleaned in a decade, simply to protect a small patch of municipal crabgrass. 16. Setting up a massive projector screen on the lawn for a summer movie night feels like peak backyard relaxation, but it might actually be a federal copyright violation. If your screen is positioned so that it is clearly visible and audible from the public sidewalk or the street, aggressive licensing agencies can legally classify your family movie night as an unlicensed, unpermitted public broadcast. You are technically treating the neighborhood to a free theatrical screening without paying the required studio royalties. The government essentially views your harmless attempt to watch a blockbuster under the stars as a bootleg cinema operation, making you legally liable for massive fines just because the mailman caught a glimpse of the movie from his truck. 17. If you think you can sneak a quiet, romantic fire pit session during a mandatory summer burn ban just because your backyard is surrounded by a massive wooden privacy fence, you are severely underestimating local code enforcement. In heavily fire-prone regions, municipal authorities now actively deploy drones equipped with highly sensitive thermal imaging cameras to patrol the night skies. Your hidden, innocent little campfire registers on their monitors as a glowing red beacon of criminal activity from hundreds of feet in the air. 18. Setting up a couple of cheap folding tables for a harmless game of backyard beer pong can trigger a highly specific police response in heavily populated university towns. Ordinances aggressively targeting what the city defines as nuisance gatherings explicitly ban the outdoor setup of any alcohol-related drinking games if the activity is even partially visible from the public right-of-way. The law dictates that the mere visual presence of red plastic cups and ping pong balls on your lawn promotes binge drinking and damages the community aesthetic. You can legally sit on your porch and quietly drink yourself into oblivion. But the moment you introduce a competitive sporting element with a tiny plastic ball, you are committing a prosecutable municipal offense. 19. Falling deeply asleep in a comfortable canvas hammock after eating way too many smoked ribs seems like the ultimate weekend luxury. But local zoning codes often classify this exact behavior as illegal urban camping. Many municipalities have drafted incredibly broad anti-camping ordinances designed to clear public parks. But the aggressive legal wording frequently extends straight onto private residential property. If code enforcement catches you sleeping outdoors on your own patio furniture past a certain hour, they can technically cite you for operating an unpermitted campsite. You legally own the property, you pay the massive property taxes, but the city government still maintains the legal authority to rudely wake you up and force you to sleep inside your own house. 20. Building a beautiful, artisan brick pizza oven to elevate your outdoor dinner parties frequently triggers a brutal, unforgiving crackdown from the city zoning department. Unlike a portable metal grill on wheels, a heavy masonry oven is legally classified by inspectors as a permanent accessory structure complete with a solid fuel-burning chimney. This requires expensive building permits, strict property line setback approvals, and mandatory environmental emission tests. If you just stack some bricks in the corner of your yard and start baking dough without paying the city their administrative fees, they possess the full legal authority to arrive with heavy machinery and forcibly demolish your outdoor kitchen for being an unpermitted, rogue architectural hazard. 21. Property disputes between angry neighbors have led to the legal creation of what courts now refer to as a spite smoker. Historically, laws were written to ban spite fences, which are ugly walls built purely to block a neighbor's view. Today, civil courts are applying that exact same legal precedent to outdoor cooking. If a judge determines that you deliberately positioned your heavy offset smoker on the edge of your property line, with the specific, malicious intent of blowing hickory smoke directly into your neighbor's open windows, you can be sued for intentional nuisance. Should the legal system really be intervening in petty backyard disputes? 22. The physical placement of your firewood can trigger a massive legal headache regarding your property lines and local building codes. Suburban ordinances frequently mandate that any stacked firewood must be kept a minimum of 3 to 5 feet away from any shared wooden privacy fence. This specific law was drafted to prevent the creation of a direct, uninterrupted wooden bridge for subterranean termites to travel from your logs straight into your neighbor's expensive fencing. Stacking your wood directly against the shared fence line does not just annoy your neighbor, it legally makes you financially liable for any insect damage their property sustains. You can literally be sued in civil court for constructing an illegal termite highway, proving that where you store your logs is just as legally treacherous as actually burning them in your backyard. 23. Washing your greasy grill grates with a garden hose in your driveway seems like standard weekend maintenance, but it might actually violate federal environmental law. Municipalities strictly enforcing the Clean Water Act can hit you with devastating fines for allowing heavy barbecue grease, chemical degreasers, and charred meat remnants to flow down your asphalt driveway and directly into the neighborhood storm drain. The legal code views this action exactly the same as a corporation illegally dumping industrial toxic waste into the local river ecosystem. The city legally demands that you meticulously scrub your barbecue equipment over a designated gravel pit, or inside your kitchen sink to prevent your weekend rib fat from accidentally destroying the local aquatic wildlife. A simple patio hose down can instantly transform you into a heavily fined environmental hazard. 24. Disposing of the leftover ashes from your weekend cookout involves navigating a strictly enforced, legally binding quarantine period that most people completely ignore. Municipal waste management laws in countless cities absolutely mandate that barbecue charcoal must be stored inside a sealed, non-combustible metal container for a minimum of 72 hours after the fire completely goes out. If you confidently dump seemingly cold ashes straight into your plastic curbside trash bin before that exact waiting period expires, you are violating hazardous disposal protocols. The city basically treats the dusty remains of your charcoal briquettes like highly unstable radioactive waste. 25. Renting a massive inflatable bounce house to keep the kids perfectly entertained while the adults grill often violates highly specific municipal airspace and tethering codes. City inspectors in densely populated suburbs treat these brightly colored inflatable castles as massive, unpredictable wind sails. The law strictly requires professional anchoring systems, heavy liability insurance, and sometimes even a specialized temporary event permit just to inflate the structure on your own grass. If a sudden gust of wind catches your unpermitted bounce house and drags it into a neighboring fence, your homeowner's insurance will completely abandon you, citing your failure to legally register the inflatable amusement park with the local zoning authority before the party started. 26. Want to honor a deceased relative with a beautiful, traditional graveside cookout? While eating near headstones was actually a massive American pastime in the early 20th century, attempting this today will get you swiftly arrested. Modern municipal codes and private cemetery regulations explicitly criminalize bringing any portable grill or open flame onto burial grounds. The law strictly classifies the innocent act of roasting hot dogs near a gravestone as the intentional desecration of a memorial site and a severe public fire hazard. If you try to fire up a small hibachi to share a symbolic meal with a lost loved one, the police will aggressively escort you off the property in handcuffs. The government has entirely legally severed the historical connection between sharing a warm family meal and honoring our ancestors. 27. Throwing an absolutely massive backyard barbecue to celebrate a holiday can unexpectedly cross the legal threshold into an unpermitted commercial assembly. Many residential zoning codes strictly cap the number of guests you are legally allowed to host on your property without acquiring a specialized temporary event permit from the city. If you invite 60 people over for smoked brisket and the street becomes clogged with parked cars, code enforcement can legally declare your family gathering an illegal, unregulated festival. They possess the authority to dispatch law enforcement to disperse your hungry guests simply because you failed to file the proper bureaucratic paperwork required to feed your own extended family in your own backyard. 28. Operating a hot grill without the proper safety equipment is not just a bad idea. It is a prosecutable fire code violation in many densely packed urban suburbs. Municipal laws frequently dictate that igniting any charcoal or propane cooking device requires a commercial-grade fire extinguisher or an active, fully pressurized garden hose to be visibly present within exactly 15 feet of the flames. You cannot legally rely on a simple bucket of water or your nearby kitchen sink. If a sudden patio inspection reveals you are lacking this specific safety perimeter, your cookout will be aggressively shut down by the authorities. 29. There are master-planned communities in the United States with homeowner association rules so excessively strict, they treat outdoor grilling like a rare, heavily regulated seasonal privilege rather than a basic property right. Certain neighborhood bylaws explicitly state that outdoor cooking equipment is only permitted to be visible on the patio during specific, federally recognized summer holidays like Memorial Day, the 4th of July, and Labor Day. For the other 362 days of the year, your grill must be legally stored entirely out of sight inside your closed garage. You are effectively banned by neighborhood law from enjoying a spontaneous Tuesday night barbecue simply because the federal calendar does not dictate a national celebration. You literally have to schedule your family's burger nights around government-sanctioned holidays just to avoid a massive property fine. We have covered 29 absolutely crazy laws and only one final rule remains. But before we get to number 30, it is time for the final verdict. We have to give the award for the most absurd regulation to the hot dog loophole. The fact that keeping a single, sad piece of processed meat on a stick magically protects you from massive environmental fines is just peak government stupidity. Do you agree with this verdict? Or did another insane rule steal the show? Let us know what you think in the comments. And now, our final number. 30. You might think that digging a traditional, old-school fire pit deep into the dirt of your backyard is the absolute safest way to contain a blaze. However, the local fire marshal vehemently disagrees with your survivalist logic. In countless heavily wooded suburban municipalities, digging an underground fire trench is completely illegal due to the terrifying phenomenon known as root fires. If you build your fire pit directly over the buried root system of a massive oak or pine tree, the intense concentrated heat can actually ignite the roots beneath the soil. This creates a slow-burning, invisible underground fire that can travel for weeks before spontaneously erupting. The city absolutely mandates the use of elevated, above-ground metal fire pits specifically to prevent you from accidentally setting the entire neighborhood on fire from beneath the earth. It turns out the biggest threat to your summer cookout is not burnt meat, but bored city planners with too much power. Don't you think lawmakers have started coming up with laws that are just meant to make our lives more difficult? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. If you want more mind-blowing exposés on the rules that secretly govern our lives, hit that subscribe button. See you in the next video.